Hey, gals, and welcome back to another episode of The Get Up Girl. And I am here with my really good friend and teammate, Jennifer Gaulden. She and I have known each other, I don't know, 15 years. I'm just throwing 12 years, something like that. And her daughter was in my dance class when she was around 5 or 6 years old. And we created a friendship that way. And then she came to work with me at the Fit Factor and with my 5K run, which is called the Pumpkin Run. So I'm really excited to have you, Jen. How are you today? Because you're finally on the show.
I know it took forever, right?
But we did it.
We did it, girl. We are here. This is exciting. I'm so excited. I'm trying to get everybody in on the different
Yeah, get them
platforms. And
in
you're
to watch because
you
we're
are
doing a watch
you are,
party. She's
you are
on
teaching
it.
me so many things. I'm like, oh my gosh, I continually learn from you. That's the best thing
And I'm
ever.
popping your cherry. She is a virgin podcast. So everybody, you are listening in to her first time.
Oh my God. This is hilarious. Okay,
You are
girl.
your
Let's
first
do
time,
this.
everybody. Where were you your first time? So this is Jen's. I'm really excited to have you because the reason you and I have grown, I'm going to say simultaneously, side by
Yeah.
side, right, throughout the years, and I think that's really cool when you can see your girlfriends, your tribe members grow along with you.
Yes.
Because let's get real, girls, when somebody's not growing along with you, then you grow apart, so to speak,
Yeah,
right?
you're either growing with or apart.
Correct. Yes. And then sometimes one's faster than the other.
Mhm.
And another one might just lift the other one up, but it's like you're not here to grab and pull them up. So it's been a real
Right.
pleasure watching you and ourselves together growing, simultaneously.
Mhm.
And I want to tap on that, but this is all about getting back up. So tell us
Yes.
about a time, Jen, that you lost somebody, because I know we're going to talk about that. And then how did you get back up after that loss? Because man, heartbreak. And I mean
Yes.
heartbreak, not even with a lover as a partner that way. I mean, gosh, a girlfriend, a BFF. That's a heartbreak too.
Sometimes they could be sometimes those can be even more impactful on your life. Losing that trusted friend. But when we were doing our pre-show and talking, and you were, what kind of loss? And I was kind of like, what do you mean? What kind of loss? And then as my brain was racking, there's so many different types of losses, and you deal with them differently. There's a loss of a parent. I have now, I've lost two mothers in 2020. I lost my mother-in-law and I lost my stepmother. Those were very different than losing my father. And that one was very sudden, heart attack, life support. We had to make the decision to turn the machine off. There's that type of loss. Then there's the loss that a lot of people right now are going through with COVID-19, as you call it, the vid. People are losing loved ones. But the type of loss I was referring to when we were talking is that type of loss that almost changes or makes you question who you are. I specifically remember this guy I was dating, more than dating. I was in a relationship with him for 3.5 years. And my identity was with him. I was so new in the dating game. This was back in college, that my identity, I now know, I didn't know this back then, but my identity was with him. It was all me and him. And when I made the decision, I was done. It was an abusive relationship. When I made the decision I was done, I was like, well, who am I now? Who am I? And is that all I'm worthy of? Is that all I'm destined to have? And your perfect question, how does it get better than this? I didn't even know how to ask that, because I was just at such a that had been my life for 3.5 years. And I was really reluctant at first to get back in another relationship. It was like, no, I'm good. Don't ever have to do that again. One and done, kind of thing. But it's a lesson we've been teaching our three girls their entire lives. The relationships you're making as a young person are not going to be your sister. Well, some of them will be. I mean, I still am very, very good friends with some of my elementary school friends, but most of those relationships, 90% of those relationships are not going to be relationships that you sustain through life. They're not going to be your lifelong adulthood friends and relationships. And so I think by teaching my daughter that now, when they're like, oh, so-and-so's not, talking to me, or we're not friends anymore, I'm like, okay, move on, next. Maybe you changed, and maybe now maybe you've outgrown that relationship, or maybe you've decided to stay kind of where you are and they've outgrown you. I mean, you got to make that.
Ooh, interesting.
There's always that too,
Never thought about it.
Yeah, sometimes, maybe sometimes that's a wake-up call, like, hey, have I been doing the same thing all the time and I'm not growing? Maybe now, maybe I need to check myself.
Damn.
And, yeah. And so there's all types of life. I mean, there's all type of loss in life. And the way that I have what's really gotten me through it and like really helped me to understand like how to get back up and how to get through it is that everybody's different. Yeah. When you're a friend with you and they're like, you should be crying.
Mm-hmm.
You should be devastated. Why?
Yeah.
And it's different with different ones too, in the different situations as well. So
it makes me think of the word understand. We use that word a lot. You don't understand me. I need you to understand me. And I got this a couple years ago at, a retreat I was at. And she said, no one will ever or can ever understand you. No. And I think once we really get that, like you really get it, then we don't have to convince somebody. No. We don't have to pull them to go understand me, because let's break down the word under, to stand under them. Mm-hmm. So you want somebody to stand under you. That makes you superior. Understand me so that I am higher. Let's break it down. And as soon as I let that go, oh my gosh, I'm like, nobody's ever had the Joanna life for how many years that I've had. Not even 1 second of my life.
Not even like you said, we've grown parallel. Yeah, we have. But I still, to this day, oh my God, this is like an epiphany. It just came to me. I was listening to one of your podcasts about the loss of the business and what you went through. And I was with you with that. Mm-hmm. I was pretty daily in your life going through that. I didn't know everything because at that point I was on the observer end. Like I was one of the dams. I was one of the parents in the studio. And I was kind of like, I was looking at it, even though like I knew you, I still was like, something's not here, what's going on. But listening to your podcast, I'm like, ooh, now I see what she was going through. And you never talked about it. Mm-hmm. You never voiced it. And I kind of like, this is like a whole nother topic now, but now it makes me understand you a little bit more years later, like back and I'm going, oh, that's what she was going through. So interesting. We don't talk about what we're going through when we're going through loss. It's not so much I want you to understand me, but maybe I just want you to hear me and just listen and just know that I'm gonna relate differently. I'm going to react differently. I'm going to process differently. And it's okay. There's some people that, they grieve heavily when it's a loss. Like they shut down. There's some people who are like, oh my gosh, that person is now free. So, let's celebrate that. I mean, that was with my stepmom. I think that was probably easiest. I shouldn't say easiest, but that was probably the easiest, most peaceful loss that I had, because I was just like, oh my gosh, she's just not suffering anymore. Yeah. And it was like a celebration of her new afterlife, and not being stuck here and suffering the way she was. Others, with my dad, it was very sad and it was really like long drawn out. Those 8 days were long drawn out. But at the same time, my dad had prepared us. He was like, if you keep me on life support, if you keep me like this, I will come back and haunt you.
Yeah, that's
come back and haunt you.
It was like, it was easier to.
I was like, I looked at my brothers. I was like, we all know what we're doing here, right?
Yeah, like, here.
We don't want dad back, in ghost form, right? So, but sometimes with that kind of loss, it's not that they didn't choose you. With the loss of like a lover, a relationship, a friend, you tend to internalize that as like,
Yeah.
rejected
What's
me.
wrong with me? Why don't you want me?
I did.
You
What
want
did
that
I
girl.
do
You
wrong?
want that guy.
Yes.
Compared
Like
to me.
seriously. And you really start to question who you are.
Amen to
And
that.
yeah, and I'm here to tell you, especially my girls, my young girls, please, even my older girls, that man does not define you. I'm married now, 15 years married, and my husband still doesn't define me. He compliments me. We compliment each other, but he does not define me. I don't define him. We are two independent beings that live together, that are married together, that share a life together. We co-create.
Amen.
I mean, it's not a dependency. Whereas like back when I was young, it was a dependency. It was that status. Remember back when Facebook started and it was like all about changing the status? It's a change to I'm in a relationship, and you waited for all your girls to change the status and notice it.
Where did you learn that? Where did we learn that? Where did we pick that up? Whose is that? Because we bought it.
Because we bought into it. We really did. I don't know. I think now we're parenting different. We're learning different. We are self-actualizing different now as adults, and we're feeding that down to our children. I tell my daughter, don't do it for the likes. If you let them put on Instagram, who cares? Be messy, be sloppy, have fun. She jokes about my TikTok. I don't care. I do it because I have fun. Did it make me happy? Yes. Boom. It's postable. It's not, is my hair right? Do I have the right lighting? Do I, that's too much. If we go through life defining ourselves by all of that, that's an exhausting way to live. It's exhausting to live like that.
But do you think you have a different perspective now that you're older and have so many years, right?
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah, I was listening to J-Lo on Oprah. This was right before the pandemic, and Oprah was doing that big, tour. And she did the one with Lady Gaga. And I was listening to the interview, and she was talking about how J-Lo has defined 50, like redefined. Yeah. I'm doing quotes right here because we bought what 50 is supposed to look like. Right. And if we really think about all these things that we're taking into consideration, movies, also about, she was talking about falling in love in 40s and 50s is way different. And you're married, you've already been married for 15 years, but re-falling in love at that age, you're going, oh my God, this is different. Yeah. And I am so grateful because I could look at it, Jen, the way this reality sees love. That I'm old, I don't have somebody, because here's the thing. Oh my gosh, how many people do I have all the time? Joanna, I'm gonna find you somebody. I'm gonna this. And I'm like, I know he's out there. And when I do,
let him find me.
Yeah. And thank God at this age, because I am so much better for it. I am like fine wine. And I'm like, what am I going to do in my 50s? This is, and so Jennifer Lopez, she was talking about how she goes, this is just halftime, baby. She's like, but in my 20s, I saw 50s as like, oh, it was going to be over. She's like, I really thought my career would have been over. I would have been living in some house and just being, a stay-at-home mom. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's what she already thought, because we bought this. And over the Christmas holiday, I know we're listening to this in 2021. Over the holiday, I was watching movies, you put on Netflix. And do you ever, gals, really stop? Like really? Because I know we watch these movies and they're like cute. Do you ever really stop and listen to what they're saying?
Don't get me started on the story, the I don't want to say the word because come sue me, but those fairy tales, the princess gets saved, this happy, first of all, there's never two parents. one parent's always gone or ran off or something, out in the war. There's always evil stepsisters, there's always evil this, and and then the prince has to come in and save the woman. Really? Like we bought into that. We tell our kids these stories night after night after night after night, and we buy into it that I'm not going to be the princess until my prince arrives. How about you become the princess and you attract the prince?
Abraham, and straight up. Yes.
I truly believe the relationships I had, and nothing against the guys that I dated back then. We were all in our 20s. We were, that's how it was, teens and 20s. But the way I dated my husband that I met at 31, completely different than in my 20s. My mom, oh my God, my mom at 72 years old got on a dating app and met a guy, great guy. She acted like she was in her teens, was gone all the time. I mean, the first time she was like, I was like, it's 11 o'clock, Lynette, where are you? Why are you at home? I mean, you would have thought she was, high school sweetheart again. And it was funny. We would joke about it, but I was like, how is that? Why does it have to be over at that point? Like, you can't date, how come 60s and 70s can't find a boyfriend and have this whirlwind love affair and all this? Why do we think that that's odd?
Watch these movies. Literally, I was like, oh my God, I've seen this movie 12 times and I never heard it like that because I'm really paying attention. Somebody comes in, the little antagonist character.
There's always that
somebody comes in and goes, oh my God, aren't you sad? And the girl's like, the little storylines, but these little things that we're having said that she's not married yet and then she's this, and it's like, oh, it's so subliminal. We hear it over and over again. And so when I ask you, where did we buy this? And I ask this all the time. People are like, yeah, where did I? We're like so confused. We really have to ponder on it. It's like, girl, it's every 5 seconds. It's everywhere.
Every Hallmark movie, every commercial, every fairy tale.
It is so subliminal. We don't even know that if you're 40, you're in my age and you're not married, you're a has-been, there's something wrong with you.
You're the spinster woman.
How many people have asked me, what's wrong with you? And I go, I have standards. I'm picky. I mean, I could have been married a gazillion times, but and I chose not to. Yeah, very interesting. Side note, Jen, I heard this on a podcast the other day and it like blew my freaking mind. He said, the question was like, how do we save the world? Like literally, like how do we save the world, everything that's going on? And I would have never in a gazillion years thought. He said, by educating women that they have a choice. Boom, that's it. Okay, and let's get deeper. Meaning we are taught that we have to get married and have kids, not that it's a choice. And he's like, there's anything wrong with it, but it's a choice. So when we teach women that they have a choice with whatever, then that's what changes the world. Let's go to Beyonce. Who runs the world? Girls. But when we believe we don't have a choice, and then by the time we're in our 40s, 50s, and we're having that, I'm leaving corporate. What am I doing? I want to divorce this guy moment. It's because we didn't know we had the choice in our teens and 20s.
Right. Well, because we are very much taught, you do this, you do this, you do this. You go to school, you go to college, you meet your husband, you buy the house, you have the baby, you build the family. Why? And I'm not saying, do it in the reverse. Just saying there are choices. You could do it later. Yeah. You could do it later in life. You don't have to do it, by a certain, and please don't give yourself like deadlines. Like, I got to be married by 24. I have to have the baby by 26. I have to do that. No, I mean, you will drive yourself crazy. When you are present and you live your life organically and you live yourself, you let yourself live, things happen. I mean, literally, my relationship with my husband, it just happened. And at first it wasn't. I mean, like, we were not looking at each other at all like that. It was like, oh, you're cool. You cool. 4 or 5 months later is when we started. He courted me like old fashioned, asked me out on a date. We went out on a date. We took it slow. We took it really slow. Really slow. But
wait, side note, Jen, there's some background noise coming in.
Yeah, it's my gardeners just showed up here. I'm so sorry.
Oh, gardeners. Okay. Apologies, everybody. Just stay with us then.
Stay with me. It's really, and again, here's the other thing. How about when a girlfriend breaks up with a guy and she's with another guy quickly, or he's even with another girl quickly? People are like, oh, you must not have really loved her. You must have. Come on, people. I mean, you don't know what they were going through in their relationship. I really wish people would stop judging. That's the one thing. And I remember you on a podcast saying, judgment is you just wouldn't do it that way.
Yes.
That was like a bingo moment for me.
Let's say that one more time.
Judgment is, I just wouldn't do it that way.
Just, we would not
I
choose
would
what
not
that person
choose
is
to do
choosing.
what you did. And that's
You would not
okay.
choose, Jen, to have a boyfriend right after that boyfriend. That's it. That's all it is.
That's
Well,
it.
Jen, I'm going to go back to what you just said, because this was another aha I had. And if anybody listening in, I think if this is your one takeaway, you said, I wish, or it would be nice if people stop judging. I'm here to tell you that will never, ever, 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 ever happen.
It's not.
Judgment
It's
is
not.
part of life. You know what I mean?
Well, I think, okay, let me rephrase it then. My wish is that we would understand that judgments are going to happen, and all it means, they would not do it the way you chose to do it. And it's okay.
Amen. Yeah. Somebody judges because they're wearing purple eyelashes. It's because he or she would choose not to wear purple eyelashes. That's it. It's like, that's it.
And it doesn't, in the relationship, it doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't make them a worser. That's not the word. It doesn't make them any worse than you. It doesn't label them. It doesn't make them a certain. It's
they would just choose
you just
different.
would not choose to do that, and that's fine.
My last couple years have really been I'm going to say like a muscle building of receiving judgment. Now, receiving judgment does not mean that I am a pushover. I am a doormat. No. Let me be very clear. It means fully receiving. And I'm going to go a little left or right, whatever you want to call it. Jesus received all the judgment without judging back. Now, he was not a doormat.
Nope.
You know? And so that's how I see it. I'm like, how can I receive it? And I actually get bigger in power when I can receive it fully without a wall up going F you back, because I think we're taught to receive judgment with an F you. Like, oh, if you're a true powerful person, you will say F you back.
We're taught that if someone is judging you, someone has to be wrong.
Mm-hmm. And you got to fight.
If I judge you, then now I have to prove that. I have to prove my point.
The proving. Circle.
I don't have to prove my point. I can't tell you how many times I get into, like, I won't say arguments, but discussion, and heated discussions at that, about why I feel a way about something that I feel, because I feel it. End of story.
That's it. Why do I have to prove?
Yes. What else do you want me to say? What else do you want to say? I like red. You don't. So I have to prove that I like. Now I have to prove that I like red.
I know. That's why I would never be good at debate. Yeah, that's cool. Yes, girl.
But people don't realize. I think it takes it, like you said, it takes some exercising of that muscle. I'm still not good at it. When I get judged, I'm like, ooh, they judged me.
It's just like doing a crunch. It's still not strong yet.
I'm not perfect, and it's like, no, I'm not perfect, and it's okay.
That hurt. That stung. There's a trigger there. Ooh, last night I was with I was like, ooh, there's a trigger there. What is this? There's a trigger. Before I would have lashed out. You don't understand me. Now I'm like, okay, I go into question. What is this?
Yeah. I didn't get a text, I didn't get a response text, to my Merry Christmas, in the time that I wanted. The person's wrong. No,
Joanna's
just like, stop that. It just is what it is. And I mean, and that's not to like say people can just be all willy-nilly and irresponsible, and and then you could be like, but I chose to do it that way. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if somebody chooses, when they lose somebody, if somebody chooses to move on quicker than you would have moved on, it's okay. That's their process. Again, you don't know what was going on in that relationship. You don't know what was going on with that individual or the other individual. You've never walked. They always say, walk a million steps in someone's shoes. You still won't know. No. You still won't know. I mean, I have good friends that literally, I'm like, we live parallel lives, like, from having had relationships, having been in abusive relationships, being in healthy relationships, to being, step parents, to being, I'm a stepchild, like if you were to check off all the label boxes, we have all the label boxes checked off, but we still are different people. We are still different people. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think that's the one thing that I think understanding comes in, is just understand that they are different people. And even when you live with somebody, like there's times when my husband like surprises me and I have to be like, hey, that's a little different. And then he'll be like, oh yeah, you know, even though I thought he was going to do something the way I think he should have done something, I don't know what happened right before that made him go left instead of right, you know. And it's that learning process that we're all different. And then we're also different in different environments.
Yeah.
We're also different in different environments. I think now, back to that relationship, I literally, like, I should have been out of that relationship years prior, like seriously. I should have chosen me and left. But I, 20s, didn't know how to do that. I think now, like if I was in that relationship now and the things that I know now, I would have chosen me, and it's such a big way, and in such a just loving myself and knowing who I am way, that the breakup wouldn't have affected me as much. Like in that relationship, that was, I mean, devastating. It was the first one. It was my first like big, huge heartbreak. That first one stings. First one stings a lot. But I feel like if I would have had that now, you would handle it differently. And that's the thing that I want to teach the younger girls. I used to mentor high school students. And it's funny now, they're all on Facebook now, and they're all like, oh, we're 20 years out from high school. And I'm all like, oh my God. I'm thinking I was 20 something when I was mentoring you,
Wow.
And just to see them now, like if I could teach them the lessons that I know now to where they are now, I mean, and that's what we did as the mentors. They are such great human beings. They are such great humans. So I really do encourage adults now, teach these lessons to your kids, teach these lessons to kids everywhere. And by kids, I mean, I'm talking about from the young ages. Teach them now, because they will become such great human beings and adults. And it helps them. It just helps them to know it's okay for me to process how I process. I don't have to process like the girl on Instagram processed it, and that's the other thing. Stop comparing yourself to Instagram or social media in general. I think that's another, in addition to the fairy tales, in addition to, the stories, the Hallmark cards and the Hallmark stories we've been taught, there's the social media story. All these kids are living up to that. And that's the new fairy tale.
Exactly.
That's the new fairy
tale.
It's the new fairy tale.
What was your turning point when you were in that relationship where you made the choice to leave?
I think I just had to realize it's not going to change. He's not going to change. This relationship is not going to change. And I'm not here to change him.
Did you have a moment of, this is it, I'm done?
Yeah.
Like it was so clear as day? Tell us about that.
I got pushed up against the wall, and I still have the mark on my body today that he left on me. I was like, this is it. This is it. I either go now or I'm going to end up a statistic.
How did you leave?
I honestly, I've repressed a lot of that relationship mentally because it just didn't serve me. So there's a lot of foggy details. I don't really remember. I think it was really like, I just left. And I just was like, I'm done. It's over. And I've just mentally blocked it off. I can tell you how I broke up with other guys.
Yeah.
Or how I broke up with. But that one in particular, that one, maybe I just haven't processed it. And I don't think I need to at this point, But yeah, I do remember that I was just like, I'm done. This is it. This is done. There's so much evidence. There was actually physical evidence that I could have just like, I should have left way before, because of infidelity. But when it became like physical, the abuse was always there mentally. What do they call it? The gaslighting.
Yep.
I learned that term, 30, 40 years later. But it was really like at some point I just had to say, enough is enough. Enough is enough. And even to this day, I have counted some of my friends that have been in abusive relationships, and I tell them, I've been in your shoes, but I haven't walked your walk. So I can say all this. All I can do is if you need to use my story for strength to do what you need to do, to make the choice you need to do, I'm here to support you. But it's that saying, it's always easier said than done. And I truly believe that, because I could sit there and tell Joanna, you're in a abusive relationship, get out now, get out now. But it's easier said than done. It's a very hard.
What do they say? A frog in boiling water won't feel it if you do 1 degree. 1 degree. I think for me,
and it turns up like that. That's how it turns up.
That's the abuse. Where
until all of a sudden it's boiling, like
you can't even.
Then
feel
all of a sudden
it
it's like, whoa! But I remember that one time where it was like I was up against the wall and I got grabbed, and it was. I was like, okay, I'm done.
That was the boiling point where you felt the boiling water.
Mm-hmm. But looking back at it, I'm like, oh, there was that. Yep. But it's that slow, like you said, that slow
degree turn up. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I think that is, if somebody hasn't been in a relationship of that nature, but there's other things that you can compare it to, where you're slowly in life at a job that you hate, and it's 1 degree every year. And then all of a sudden you're like, what happened to my life?
Like yesterday I liked my job. Today I don't. What happened? It's not overnight. It's that little bit. It's like that overnight success. They don't become overnight successes. It's 20 years of work. Yeah. But I think everything kind of happens because a lot of us, we tune out a lot too. We tune out of our lives a lot too. If you're not really, really paying attention, like we said, that's one click. And I now say I allowed a lot of that to happen because I had a choice each and every time. I allowed a lot of that to happen to me. And I'm not saying that I deserved it. I'm not saying I caused it, but I allowed it by not saying no. I allowed it by not leaving. And in that, you train people how they treat you. So if they constantly are allowed, and this isn't any relationship, if you let one of your girlfriends constantly talk down to you and you don't like it, but you never say anything, guess what's going to happen? She's going to constantly talk down to you. Mm-hmm. If you constantly let your friends flake on you and you don't say anything and it bothers you, guess what they're going to continue to do? They oh, it's okay, we can flake on her.
Yeah. That reminds me of last night, even today, Jen, as I'm recording this, I'm processing something right now. I'm like in it. And I could feel there's like a little of that I'm trying to be liked. I'm in a new relationship, dating somebody. And there was a trigger last night. And I'm like, what's bothering me? Because it wasn't a big deal. Like, you know what I mean? It was a little whisper.
Never a big deal.
It's never a big deal. But it was a whisper. It was like, it was a little feather touch of Yeah. What's important to you, Joanna? And what's important to me is my early mornings, waking up, walking, et cetera, et cetera. And I was allowing that to slip. I was choosing him over my walks.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, okay. Even right now, it's not that huge, but it's like wants to make me tear because it's like, it's the 1 degree. Where, like, let's go back how you said if you're not paying attention. So yes, past Joanna wouldn't have paid attention in the 1 degree, and then all of a sudden I would have.
You're no longer walking,
and now I'm mad at him, right? And he's like, "What happened? I didn't do anything, right?" But this was the 1 degree, and I'm so aware, and I'm like, I'm choosing him. Okay, I like him, but I still want to choose me. Yes. So I'm like, okay. Then the next question is, what can create most out of this conversation with him rather than I attack him because I wanted to. And it's like, this is not him. This is me.
That's nothing to do with him.
Right? Feather touches, gals out there. Whatever this story that I'm telling can be something else of the 1 degree of turning up the water. Thank God I'm so much more aware because before I was a zombie. Zombies don't know they're zombies. They're walking around Earth.
I'm just chilling.
And now I'm going, oh, okay, something's up. Yeah. And how can this conversation create more for us, for him, for me? And how can this be like something that I can take with other things, with work, with whatever? And I'm like, you know what's interesting, Jen, because I'm speaking for the gals with no kids. And, I don't know if he'll listen to this, but he has kids. And it's interesting how, I will step back and go, okay, you're with your kids now. But like, I feel like I don't have that to say. And to me, my morning walks are my kids. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, so it's your priority.
That's my kid. So
Yeah.
you like, I'm with my kids now. You need to leave. And I went, it was like, boom. I'm like, oh shoot, because I don't have something tangible to go, this is mine. It's like, oh, Joanna, you have all the time. You can do whatever. Stay with
But
me.
those little things are also your identity. You identify that your walk, your fitness, your daily routine is part of who you are. And the minute you start letting that go and letting that go and letting that go and letting that go, who are you becoming?
Mm.
And I'm not saying this dig in your heels and you change it. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying if you hold high and value something as a person, why would anybody that wants you to be the best you are with them have a problem with that?
Yeah. And I'm like, ooh, what is that?
They should support it, but you have to communicate that.
Correct. I was not communicating. Let's go back
You
to,
haven't told them that.
I was teaching him how to treat me.
If you don't teach them, like
Yep.
it's especially the morning fitness thing. My husband, gym head,
Like,
before COVID,
he's like,
do
don't
not
even,
mess with
you
his
cannot
morning.
mess with his morning
Yeah.
gym.
Let's go out on you know I gotta go to the gym in the morning. Are you
Yes.
serious? You can't just pick me once, you know. And it wasn't that dramatic, but
Yes.
you know, but there was times when he would, and I just listened to your podcast about choosing you, and like you could choose Sally and going to the drinks, but just know you may have to make it up at the evening, you know, kind of thing. So it's I was listening. So I'm now that gym person in the morning. Like I really, really like got into my morning routine. And there were things that, you know, late at night, you got to think about it. You know, are you willing? I mean, and it's a willingness on your end. You know, if there's a date he wants to take you on and it's gonna make it hard for you to get up in the morning for your morning routine, it's a choice. It is definitely a choice. And it goes back to those fairy tales that didn't tell us we had a choice. It goes back to those stories of growing up that we didn't have a choice. You did with you just did it. You went along and you made the man happy.
Amen.
You know.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. Like last night, he was there. There's nothing wrong with it. It just was a choice, and it doesn't work for me. Let's go to that. What works for you gals? What works? And I'm like, ooh, this is not
better.
working.
Are you better for your morning routine?
Yes. And I was like, oh my God, I'm
turning to tell him that
because I'm not having my morning walk. Yeah. Joe doesn't like this.
Yes.
But it was contrast, Jen. I didn't have contrast of no walks because it's been the whole pandemic of walks. I've been, you know, it's just me, my girl, you know, me, myself, and I. And now it's like another person and we're co-creating. And I'm like, oh, I needed the yin and the yang contrast to go, oh, JoJo ain't happy without her morning walks. So which was it's a gift.
Yeah, this first break that I've taken for work, because I'm an educator, so we're all on winter break. So this is our last week of winter break, if you're listening in real time, as you say.
Yeah.
And I really haven't kept up on my morning walks. I'm perfectly honest. You know, I've been like, oh, I get to sleep in. I do this. I da. But yesterday morning, actually, today's Tuesday, so Sunday actually, my gal Tamika was like, hey, I need to do a 1 week reset before we go back, you know, before the new year starts and we go back into our morning routine of working, because she's a school teacher as well. And she's like, you know, walk by 7, do this. And I was like, can we walk by 8? I'm like negotiating because I'm like, I want to sleep in. But then like Monday morning, I'm laying there and I'm like, I didn't get up and walked. I kind of feel like by 2-3 o'clock, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
I miss it. Like not that I need it, but I want it. I know that makes me better through the day. It gives me more energy.
But that contrast from the 7 to 8 to know that's good for them. You know,
no, I mean, I didn't do it at all, is what I'm saying, because it rained cats and dogs yesterday. Like there was no walking yesterday at all. But today I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get up and go. And I walked at 8 o'clock.
To have the contrast. Yes. Okay.
But it's also the contrast of no walking at all.
Yes.
To okay, at least I went at 8.
Yes.
You know,
and having the conversation of the 7 to 8. Yeah, that's even a gift.
Yeah, I was like, you know, we're on vacation. Like we could chill, we could relax it a little bit because next week it'll be back to 7 o'clock. You know, but it's like you gotta. I mean, if that's something that is high valued by you, you should communicate that to him so that he understands. This makes me a person. It makes me a better person when I'm with you. This is my non-negotiable.
Well, I did communicate that it was a non-negotiable, I went back on me. I went back and I slid back. So like you're talking about, you teach people how to treat you. I taught him that I said this, but it's okay because I want to spend time with you. And again, I wanted to point fingers at him. I'm like, Jojo, you did this yourself, girl.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yep. I taught
And
him
own
that.
up to that. And
Yes,
own up to that. Yeah.
girl. I'm like talking to myself, Joanna. That's why I was like, ooh, this is off. I wanted to like, I told you this is important to me. I'm like, no, he was so ready to go, okay, bye. And I'm like, no, stay with me. You know, oh my gosh. Yeah. Come on, Joanna, let's get real. And
Which one is it?
which one is it? Yeah. And I think
one is
that's
it?
also what kind of felt ugly here was that I was lying to me. It was me. And that I was like, okay, I'm going to communicate so that it can be clear that I get it, but I'm not, it's not. Here's the interesting thing. I didn't want it to be like, it's always me and I'll always take the fall. And I'm like,
Right.
look, we're co-creating together and I'm asking you to help me if I want to slip back. So girls listening out there, do you get what I'm saying? Like I'm asking him to co-create with me rather than I'm over here doing this and you're over here doing this. Look, this is together and I miss you and I want to be with you. So please help me go to bed early because this is important to me.
Yeah. Can we, instead of starting the date at 6, can we start the date at 4 or 5?
Yeah.
We can still do everything
a little earlier.
Do everything go a little earlier. I can go to bed.
Yes, because that's important to me. Amen. Oh my gosh, such a great conversation. And well, Jen, we're coming up to the end. Let's put a little bow on this. Where can everybody find you? Because you are now, oh my gosh, perfect timing, you know, with everything that's happening. Everybody's going to start traveling. You are so good at events. Like you're really good at putting people together. She helps me with my events with like 5,000 people. So Jen's can you imagine 5,000 and like you're just your family going on a vacation. So if you need help with traveling, she will set up everything for you. And if you're a person like I am, that's like, just tell me what to do and I'll show up. I do not want to research. It's not in my genes. It's not my thing.
You know what? And that's the thing. You gotta realize that it's not your thing and let somebody else that is.
Tell me,
especially in these times, the COVID restrictions are changing daily, hourly. Like I can barely keep up.
Right.
But as far as for my travel business, I am on Facebook at All About Me Travel.
Oh.
And the M and E are for memories and events. I create memories and events by booking travel. And then if you are on Instagram, you can find me at bling_babe, BLING_babe, BABE. And I have my bling business as well, where I customize gifts and apparel with rhinestones, glitter, vinyl. I make them customizable. I make them memorable.
Any birthday present you need, Jen.
Yes. Support small business, please, especially during these very trying times. And so I encourage everyone, just make sure you realize you are who you are based on the experiences and the lives and the footsteps that you've taken through this life. And, just stop comparing yourself to others. Stop judging yourself by what somebody else would choose to do. It's okay to choose it the way you want to do it. Know that the relationships that you have, and I'm talking about from girlfriends to, significant others to marriages, you are defined within that relationship. You're not defined by it. And just know that, you are going to have your ups and downs in relationships. That is what happens. You are relating to each other. It is a relationship, So when one's up, one's down, when you guys are both in the middle, it's all good. But just, make sure that you choose the better you so that you can be a better you with them. I mean, I'm constantly trying to improve myself so that together we are that much better. My husband works really hard to improve upon himself so that together we are better. And, just know that communication is really, really key. Super, super key. Like you said, you didn't know what was bothering you until it was bothering you. And now you got to communicate it to him like, hey, these are the choices I'm making for me. Yeah. So for us to co-create, can we do it a little differently? Yes. Same result, but co-create a little differently.
Yeah. And creating creationships. I love that.
Relationships.
Relationships.
Ooh, that's a
Yeah,
good
because you
one.
create together and you build together and
Create
build
that
everything.
relationship.
Yeah,
Look at you,
just like you
Joanna
and I.
isms.
You like that?
Add that to the
You and I at the
Joanna-ism
beginning,
book.
I was talking about we've had a creationship. One was here, one's left, one's right, and then you just keep growing. But I think when you
Mhm.
stop creating together, I think that's when you then break apart because you stop creating.
Yeah, you gotta do it together. It's not one creating for the other. Like, don't keep choosing that for that other person. You gotta create together. What do you want? What do they want? What you guys want together? Like,
Yep,
there's gotta be that togetherness. And when
I
that
love that.
togetherness is there, that's when you lose the relationship.
I love that. Yes, so follow Jen on Instagram and Facebook, and this will all be in the show notes as well. So you can just swipe up. And then if there's something that you took away from this conversation, please, write a comment, or what would be great is to screenshot this, tag us both on Instagram, and
Please,
let us know what you took away. Let her know, let
please,
me
please.
know what your big takeaway was. Maybe it was creationship or choosing you. We had some really good conversations. And Jen, thank
Yes.
you so much. I'm so glad that we did this. We'll have to do this again. In case you missed it,
Please.
we'll be on Facebook, Instagram, it'll be on YouTube and the podcast. And
I love
remember,
this.
gals, yeah, to get back up.